Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and black. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia man. Go, go! Go, go!
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, you can find us as part of Millions and the Fans First Sports Network. Tonight, we are doing we're kind of making up a hypothetical SEC Big Ten challenge type deal, but we're doing it with football, and we are doing it with last year's teams. We're going to get into a little bit more details before we get into it. But that is what we're talking about tonight. Also going to hit on some baseball before we get into all that. But before we get into any of it, how have you been and what are you drinking?
I'm just drinking a Diet Coke or Pepsi Max or whatever it is. That's what the end market bias had. Don't have any alcohol right now, although I'd really like some. Still trying to find a liquor store over here that I trust. No, but outside of that, we're in spring break right now. So just trying to get the last couple things done around the house to, have it, ready to go and everything that we bought set up and everything. But yeah, man, how about you?
Good. Work trip was pretty fun. When you take a work trip, at least in the sprinkler industry, I don't know how it is in other industries. I went for a class that was put on by a fire pump manufacturer. We get to the class.
Propaganda.
No. This was like, hey guys, we're going to take you out into our factory workshop area. Take these pumps apart. If you break them, we can fix them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was cool, especially for like an engineering nerd like me that likes taking stuff apart and figuring out how it works. But in my industry, you get to class, and then after class, they're like, hey, we're taking you to dinner. You're going to be hungover in the morning. And then they just try to get your liver to quit. It's free. I'm not going to say no, but I probably should.
Did you tap out?
No.
That's right.
As a unit, because there were like 5 or 6 people in the class. As a unit, everyone went to bed, and that's when I went to bed. I didn't go to bed early. I didn't quit drinking. The second day, I went from liquor drinks to beer. Still had about 20 of those, but I had about the same amount of liquor drinks the day before. And a lot of regret. So when I was hungover, like I felt nauseous, but the headache hit 36 hours later, kind of thing.
See, you know what? That you're right. Approaching your 30s, man.
I know.
It's not getting better. It's not getting better.
I know. But I will say, I'm glad that I wasn't nauseous and having a headache at the same time. So, like, my body tried to hook me up there. It was like, hey, dude, you're going to feel sick to your stomach until lunchtime. Then you're going to be good. But tomorrow afternoon, when you're in the car driving through Atlanta for that lunch or that afternoon traffic, be prepared for a migraine. And I got one.
Burning the candle at both ends, being in traffic and the migraine. That's tough.
Yeah. But I did find a recipe for some homemade Chipotle ranch that I made today for my lunch this week for meal prep. No chemicals, no sugar, kind of situation, and it's spicy as hell. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. You know I'm getting old when I'm excited about homemade ranch and my hangover lasting 2 days.
Welcome to the dark side. Doesn't get any better.
Yeah. It does get better.
Not the Braves.
No, dude. Opening day hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, if the Cubs fans can't claim Japan or anything, we don't have to claim this West Coast trip.
Yeah, like I don't know what you're talking about. College baseball. It's the
Yeah,
only baseball
that's
on right
correct.
now. Because the Dogs swept number 11 Auburn in Athens this weekend, including a 10th inning walk off yesterday. That was awesome. They had two guys on, and then who other than baseball's Dirty Dan
Dirty Dan.
comes up, feeds the trees, takes us home, gets his shirt ripped off on his run to the wall.
Hmm.
Just guys
Which I
being dudes.
which I think it was the first Georgia baseball game on SEC Network. I think all the rest of them have been on like SEC Network Plus or whatever. It's like it was actually
They had a Florida
really
game on SEC Network.
fair. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Won that one too. 2-0 on national TV, baby.
It's fair. Georgia's currently leading the SEC with an 8-1 conference record and 28-2 overall. Two losses coming to UNC Wilmington regional team last year.
Hmm.
And Kentucky hosted a super regional last year,
Yep.
also known as good teams.
Yes.
So lead the country in home runs. Two guys in the top three in home runs last time I checked. They do play in Austin next weekend. So, if Kirby could just send Dalen along for the trip, just for the good vibes. I will say, having a guy named Dan Jackson on your team, not a bad thing in Austin.
I
He
mean,
may
yeah,
get
having
ejected for targeting,
maybe
but
do the opposite and we throw stuff on the field. Get that overturned.
yeah, let's do it. Get targeting overturned on baseball Dan Jackson by throwing trash onto the field.
The nature ceiling.
It is. It is. Georgia does play Tuesday at home against Queens College of Charlotte. Is that a real
Some,
thing?
something like that. It just says Queens College, but it is in Charlotte. It's not
Okay.
Queens like the Mets.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I was like, are the are the Dogs just playing college Mets? Because if so, I hope they get slaughtered,
Yeah.
metaphorically speaking.
Hmm.
But on a Florida note, just because I have to say this to make me feel better right now, being a Braves fan. Florida got their first SEC win of the year this weekend against Ole Miss, who is a ranked team, number 14 in the country. So quality win, their first and only. They are 1-8 in SEC play so far. To be
Tough.
fair, to be fair, they've not played a team ranked outside of the top 15 in
Hmm.
conference play. Just, I will say that they've played some legit competition, but no SEC team has lost their first two conference series of the season, and gone on to make a regional stat.
Hate to see it.
Yeah. Bad news for Florida. They're playing the same Georgia Southern Eagles, the real GSU, in their midweek game. That real GSU beat the fake GSU 20-0 on Friday. 20-0
Another.
in 7 innings because it was a run rule.
You want to know something just real quick before you finish the Georgia Southern note? We had a baseball game on Wednesday. See my coach. We also lost 20-0.
Was it a run rule?
Oh yeah. We got one out. We got them out once. We got a strikeout in the first inning. That's all we got before we ended the game. It was so bad. It was so bad. Playing Tybee, all these boys are as big as I am, have $500 bats, having their travel embroidered bags and stuff, and just they were talking trash before the game. They were saying, "Oh, yo boys suck." And I'm like, "We'll show them." Not gonna lie, they had us in the first inning, but if they would have let us play another inning, we would have scored 21 that inning.
We just ran
So
out of time. I've never
yeah,
lost a game. I've ran out of time.
shout out Michael Jordan.
Um, but yeah, so Statesboro, a little bit more positive. They won their game.
Very
Um, and they're going to be playing for freedom this week. Had time
freedom.
had time to cope with that loss a little bit, and now they get to be angry about it. So
Oddly enough, freedom. They found freedom in Florida in 2004, and they've had them ever since. So
They
it's
did.
a tough loss for them.
It
But
is. Also, shout out, didn't know this about Georgia Southern. The eagles they get are birds that have been rehabilitated but are still not healthy enough or, you know, still not healthy enough to,
reintroduced to the wild.
yeah, to be
Yeah.
released into the wild. So Freedom, just a little side note here, Freedom injured his beak in Florida. Um, similar to teeth in Florida, they always go away.
Mhm.
One's from meth, one's from something else. Um, but it injured his beak, and they couldn't get it back 100% to where they felt they could release him into the wild. And that's how George Southern got him
Yeah.
to take care of him. So that's super cool.
I mean, some say that that's the best bald eagle mascot in the country. So I would agree.
I would for sure.
Way better.
Um, what other bald eagle mascots are there?
There's Auburn's War Eagle
I didn't,
Plains
I thought
Bird,
they
right?
were I thought they were a golden eagle, not a bald eagle.
No, that's Kent State. Maybe no, they're the Golden Flashes. I don't know.
No, okay, no, it's a golden eagle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For
Auburn
Auburn,
has a golden eagle. Yeah, I just googled it.
I swear it was a bald eagle. Okay.
Well, he's bald because he pulled his hair out from watching them play football. Like
Hmm.
it's not a species thing. It is a animal abuse thing because he has to be
Stress.
at all the Auburn games.
Yeah, definitely not. They're not a baseball or football school anymore. Definitely a basketball school. They just beat Michigan State.
You know what? Good for them. They have something.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But we are, speaking of Auburn and Michigan State, they don't play in these matchups that we're talking about, but we're doing the SEC Big Ten football challenge. It's all hypothetical. Um, and, this is something that several talking heads have brought up as a possibility when the CFP expands, like a scheduling agreement between the really, power two, the power couple of college football, if you will.
I like that.
Since Carson Beck and what's her face are broken up, got to have a new power couple.
Yeah,
Um, but so in conference challenges in basketball, most of the teams participate, and the TV networks try to match up teams with similar talent levels. But for this, we are doing reverse order of finish in the conference standings. So, for example, Mississippi State and Northwestern's first matchup we're talking about. But we are going to do, it's not going to be neutral site. It's going to be home and away. We're going to do the team that finished with a better record gets the home game. If the two teams finish with a better record or the same record, we're going to go to conference record. If they finish with the same conference record, we're just going to go with the SEC team because we didn't
right
think
on.
about a third tiebreaker. Is what it is. We're like the SEC before the middle of August last year. Tiebreaker, what's that? I don't know.
I mean,
Uh,
personally, I hope Northwestern's hosting this in front of like 1,500 people out there across field on Lake Michigan.
no.
Damn.
Northwestern is hosting it,
Okay.
but they're going to be hosting it at Wrigley Field.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're going because they split time half and half. We're going with Wrigley Field for this host. I will say the Big Ten has 18 teams. And if we're being honest, Maryland and Purdue can just they can go somewhere. They need to. They need to practice.
Mhm.
Maybe they can play each other.
Well, like, what was it? Who did Colorado try to play in the spring game that the NCAA denied? Was it Syracuse?
That really does seem like something that Fran Brown would do.
Absolutely.
He's like,
I wish it would have.
Dion, you got a big mouth. Maybe we should settle this on the field. And
Yeah.
then the ends in tie, and Fran's just like, all right, let's go. You can't
Deanna
kick
only has like one
with
foot.
all them toes gone. Let's do
Yeah.
this. Um, But yeah, no, I mean, Big Ten's too big. Maryland, Purdue were both just awful last year.
Hmm.
They can play each other or practice. You know, use this
They're
extra
basketball
recruiting
school.
time.
They're basketball schools. Who cares about football, right?
They should. Yeah, being
Yeah,
football makes more money.
way more.
All right, so we're going to Mississippi State versus Northwestern at Wrigley Field in Chicago. And this would be a game of teams that drastically underperformed given what the expectations were of their new coaches and the players they had coming into 2024. Mississippi State, obviously, started the season with Blake Shapen. Guy's been around college for 5 or 6 years at this point.
Hmm.
In the games he played well. Like they took Arizona State down to the wire in Tempe. Like let's not pretend that this team did not change drastically once former president Michael Van Buren was the starter. Not saying
They
Michael
gave
Van
Georgia.
Buren is
They gave
bad.
Georgia a game.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, not saying he is bad, but when you go from a guy that's been in college football for 5 years as your quarterback and say, hey, dude, I know you've been on campus since June. You're the starter now. So the 2 pages of the playbook, that's what we're calling. That's all we got.
Yep.
Drastically different circumstances. Um, Northwestern did finish the season 4-8 with the 58th ranked strength of schedule, playing a total of 2 playoff teams and going 0-2, losing those games by an average of 20.5 points, so right at 3 possessions. Mississippi State finished season 2-10, 39th ranked strength of schedule, playing 4 total playoff teams.
That's
Played
more than most teams that made the playoff played.
right. So Mississippi State had the misfortune of playing every SEC team that made the playoff and Arizona State.
Damn.
3 of those games were away from home, and I'm not sure about the fourth.
Texas, I want to say they played
It was
in
at
Austin,
Texas.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the Tennessee game. Oh, at Tennessee. They played all 4 of the playoff teams they played last year away from home.
Jeez.
Yeah, at Mississippi State, screw Florida's schedule. Mississippi State had the
Yeah.
toughest schedule in college football last year. We were all
Hmm.
sleeping on Arizona State, and
Hmm.
Mississippi State got screwed. But
Yeah.
losing those games, they lost all of them by an average of 14.5 points. So
Not
right
not
at, yeah,
not bad. 2 possessions.
2 possessions. I do think this is a situation where the better team got screwed by their schedule. We kind of just
Mhm.
talked about it. Played 4 playoff teams all away from home. You almost beat one of those playoff teams with your starting quarterback still healthy. If you could just contain Cam Scatterboo for one drive, you win that game.
Hmm.
Most teams couldn't contain Cam Scatterboo for one play, let alone one
Texas,
drive.
Texas couldn't.
No. So I'm not saying if Mississippi State had an easier schedule, they'd be a playoff team. I'm not saying they would have been threatening to make the SEC title game. They're playing a bowl game. I think for sure they're
Yeah.
playing a bowl game. I
Well,
think
that's
if
kind of like
Blake
the point.
Shapen stays healthy, they might be in a bowl game.
Hmm. And that's kind of the point of this whole exercise too. Is like which one of these teams is better, and I think you're kind of along the same thought process as me. I mean, you'd have to take Mississippi State here, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. 100% Mississippi State. I think that this would be a lot of block letters and script just everywhere on this field. I
Hmm.
think it would be visually gross. I think
Mississippi. Oh, go ahead.
I think all of 10 people are in the stands and 10 more people watching around the country.
I
I
don't know.
think
I think all those Mississippi State fans will come up there. No, no, there's no Northwestern fans out there. Like that's established, unless like they're in the media, like Greeny or someone like that. But I think those Mississippi State people would flow up the Mississippi, I guess, to near Chicago or go up. I don't know. It does go through Chicago
hey
anyway.
honey, grab the kids, we're getting on the barge. Get the long pushing pole. We got a 2-week ride to get to Chicago.
They're they're That would be wild. I think I don't know that they probably have a lot more similarities than we would give them credit for. The people of Chicago and Stark Vegas.
Um, yeah, like I think just a competition of who has less teeth, we will get a
Yeah,
surprisingly similar answer.
guns per capita probably the same.
Yeah, yeah, solid bet, solid bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're both taking Mississippi State here.
Yep.
I think that's the pretty easy choice, especially if you watched Mississippi State play last year, like the
Hmm.
Georgia game. They hung around with Texas for 3 quarters of that game. Like that, go back and watch that Arizona State game if you haven't, because Mississippi State was down like 3 possessions at halftime and came back to almost win that game at the last second. Phenomenal game to go
Yeah.
back and rewatch. Um, but yeah, so that's where we are at with that one.
All right, so it's 1-0 SEC. Stop count.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Why would we
Stop
even
count.
go any further?
Yeah.
Uh, Kentucky versus Wisconsin. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be in Madison.
Ooh. Okay.
Pretty sure this is going to be in
Uh,
Madison. I'm still trying to pull it up here. It
well,
is.
if it is, Wisconsin is already 0-1 against SEC teams in Madison.
Yep. So we have Kentucky finished season 4-8, Wisconsin 5-7. Squeaked this one out
Hmm.
to earn this home. I don't know if I said this at the top. So with this, we're doing every team's healthy, 100% healthy, no injuries, and we're doing with the 2024 rosters. We're not doing 2025. That's way too complicated. We don't know
And
who's
there's
starting.
still and there's still rosters are up in the air because yeah,
Yeah,
portal and all that.
yeah. The spring portal period hasn't even opened yet. Like we're 2024 is how we're doing this, and
Hmm.
100% healthy. So even if a guy tore his ACL in spring ball or in fall camp, ACL's magically fixed. Congratulations, you're playing the game.
Yeah, injuries are turned off in this simulation.
Yes. Um, Not the simulation we live in, the simulation we're creating within the one we live in.
Very meta. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Kentucky versus Wisconsin in Madison. Um, Another question that we didn't think about beforehand: Where, what time of year are these games? Are these beginning of the year? Or are they end of the year?
I would say the end of the year, like before bowl season, but everybody's healthy. It's like we
Okay.
know what we're getting into. Like
All right.
everybody's
So
got throughout the year.
these first 2 games, rough with weather for it to be a
Yes.
early December game.
But that's what the Big Ten wants, right?
It is. It is not, and Kentucky get, especially Lexington. They
It's
get
cold, man.
it gets cold. They get
I mean,
snow.
at anytime
Consistently
Georgia
get snow.
anytime Georgia goes to Lexington, it's freaking miserable.
Yeah, and part of that's because they're in Lexington. That's a joke.
Yeah. Not even
Um,
not even considering the climate,
yeah.
right?
This game is just a pure case of quarterback purgatory for both of these programs. Wisconsin, having TVD go down in the first drive against Alabama, he is healthy in the simulation where they were actually moving the ball against Alabama. But, Kentucky having like a physically extremely tough quarterback and Brock Vandegrift, that I think his toughness is kind of why he was not able to perform at the college level. Because
Yeah.
I just want to say this again for the people that don't know. Brock Vandegrift tore multiple ligaments in his knee his senior year of high school, and then proceeded to say, "Nah, coach, keep me in," and won a state title with multiple torn ligaments in his knee. Like
Warrior.
that's a bad dude.
Yeah.
So, but I think honestly, between the knee and just the mentality of it, I think that's kind of why he struggled so much at the college level. I would love to kind of pick his brain about what he thinks happened there. But in this situation, he's healthy.
Hmm.
No lingering knee issues, no mental issues along with that knee injury. Um, but bad news for both these teams. They both still have their offensive coordinators. Bush
Right.
Hamden for Kentucky and Wisconsin having Phil Longo. Both of these teams finished right around 100th in total offense. Wisconsin 99th and Bush Hamden and Kentucky at 114.
Both of those seem better than what you would think. Just watching these teams.
Right, but man, if you can just give me that first drive against Alabama for Wisconsin,
Hmm.
you know, but positive side of this, both of these teams are just outside of the top 40 in total defense. So this game would be a low scoring affair. I think it would entirely depend on the mobility of both quarterbacks. You know,
Hmm.
I truly believe that Brock Vandagriff could have been good.
Yeah.
That is a hill that I will die on.
I
But
mean, we were both like super high on Kentucky going into the season because we thought he would be the next great Kentucky quarterback. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but
uh
we thought he had
yeah,
everything there.
yeah, no, for sure. I will say, all of that aside, if we were talking about a healthy Wisconsin team, it's a multiple possession win over Kentucky.
For who?
Wisconsin wins that game by multiple
Oh yeah,
possessions
yeah,
if they're
yeah.
healthy.
I agree with that 100%, especially the time of year. Um, they are trying to go away from the dairy raid, apparently.
Yeah, they fired Phil Longo
Yeah.
after two just miserable seasons.
They just have to get back to what they know, is just getting big beefy boys up there, just run blocking.
Yeah, just get some dairy farmers instead of
Yeah.
dairy raid, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
All right, so 1-1.
1-1, and this honestly, this is one of the sadder games that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and UCLA. And I got to pull up
Ooh.
the stats on this
If
one.
if I had a bet, I would say this is in Norman.
I would as well. Um, I really should have done more prep work on this beforehand. Uh,
Because
so
Oklahoma went to a bowl game, UCLA didn't, right?
no, Oklahoma did not go to a bowl game.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're 5-7. That's
No,
wait,
they
wait,
were. No, they did. They did. They
no,
did. I was wrong.
6-6. Yeah, because they beat.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So UCLA had a better conference record. Oklahoma had a better total record. So this one's
All
in
right, so
Norman.
Colin Norman.
Yeah. I'm not sure it matters a whole lot if we're being entirely honest. Uh,
Hmm.
both
Defense
teams,
travels.
yeah, both teams played teams that almost made the playoff pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, Oklahoma quite literally kept Alabama out of the SEC title game and the playoff by beating them in Norman. And then UCLA, I had a typo in this, so I got to find out which game I'm talking about.
Was it against
Um,
Oregon?
I will. Penn State.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
two
yeah.
possession game against Penn State. UCLA had in Happy Valley, so it's not even like it was cross country travel for Penn State.
Hmm.
Um, but I think this game would be intriguing because neither team was consistently moving the ball. Offensively, Oklahoma 113th, UCLA 118th, but we're talking about a healthy Oklahoma team. I
Yeah.
know we mentioned this earlier in the year. Oklahoma was down to their sixth string receiver by the third game of the season.
It's
They
tough
were
to win
down
games
to,
if you're on walk-ons. Use a
yeah,
walk-on.
yeah. They were down to their third string running back in that same game. And they decided the quarterback was a problem, bench him, go to a backup for a few weeks, and then swap again, and then both of them are in the portal. Michael Hawkins Jr. might be back, but I know he went into the portal at some point.
Hmm.
Just man, just poor offensive handling this year at Oklahoma. Um, The bad news for UCLA is they just kind of sucked.
Hmm.
The portal hit them very hard. Um,
Michael Hawkins is still with Oklahoma.
okay, so he is coming back
Mm.
after he was benched for the guy that was benched for him. Weird, they want to say Kirby handles quarterbacks poorly. So somebody go talk to Skeletor
Skeletor.
over there.
Yeah. Evil Skeletor.
Yeah. Man, I think when this game is played has a big factor in it. If we're talking late season, first
Mm.
off, it's cold. LA
Yeah.
doesn't get cold. So
Hmm.
be interesting. But
No,
also,
no tornadoes in Norman in December.
right,
Maybe.
right,
Probably.
hopefully.
I don't know. I didn't
Um,
watch Twister 2 or whatever. Twisters.
it's a good
I don't
movie. It's worth watch.
know.
But um, the screw it, we ball mentality that Oklahoma had late in the year was top tier. They were just like, we can't do anything. Just have the quarterback run the ball on every play.
Hmm.
And then when they have 9 guys in the box, he'll just kind of pass it. It'd be like a flying duck. And then boom, pass play.
Yep.
Like we're still going to turn the ball over, but we're screw it, we ball. That mentality would have been a lot of fun, especially going into this game. Um, I will say this game, just in general, should be sponsored by Red Bull because of the way that both of these programs have taken a dive off of the cliff of relevancy.
Hmm.
Just hit the dumpster hard on the way down. I would have Oklahoma in this because if both teams are healthy, Oklahoma is just significantly more talented, top to bottom. And if Jackson Arnold had guys to catch passes from him in week 1, he may never have been benched.
Right. Hmm. So we are 2-1 SEC again. Back on top.
There we go. How long are we going to stay on top? Because
Hmm.
our yeah, our current
Yeah.
situation, we have to rely on Auburn to keep us there.
Noted not football school
Right, or baseball.
or baseball. Yeah.
This would be the post quarterback hype bowl or the post hype quarterback bowl. Peyton Thorne after the 2021 season was getting legit first round talk. Good thing people waited.
Wait, after 2021?
Wasn't it the season that he took a Michigan State team to a 10-2 record, beating Michigan, who made the playoff?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's right.
crazy.
Okay. Okay. That just feels like a lifetime ago at this point. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I was about to say I was about to feel real dumb, but
That seems right.
yeah, because I remember watching Kenneth Walker just
I was- yeah, that
run
was more
for
Kenneth Walker.
approximately 6 miles on the Michigan defense.
Yeah, that team is more Kenneth Walker than anything. Did you know Mel Tucker's missing? They can't find the man. Like he's dipped from like everything. Like he's fallen off the face of the earth because he doesn't want to,
Face
litigated.
charges.
Yeah, get litigated.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We need to dig into that at some point, whether it's on the show or not, because I am now bought in, 100%.
you can put like a fake mustache trying to be like a Title Nine.
My name's Tel Mucker. All right. Auburn,
Sorry.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Uh, and it went from legit first round talk after 2021 to being the problem, according to Hugh Freeze, because you know when head coaches and accountability, that's Peyton Thorne loves to play for coaches that don't know how to take accountability.
That's his toxic trait.
His toxic trait is that he loves toxic men.
Yeah.
Um,
Toxic masculinity.
And then, Dylan Raiola being post hype after his prediction of a Heisman and national title were rudely awoken in week 2.
Was
Those
that the
dreams
was that the
smashed.
Colorado game?
I
Or no?
believe so.
God, again, that feels like a lifetime ago as well. Didn't Colorado get spanked in that game, or did they spank Nebraska?
Either way,
Yeah.
Dylan Raiola was not the reason that they
No.
did much of anything in that game.
Mm-mm.
But this game would have more bad sacks taken than a senior prom. Both quarterbacks just all of the negative yards. Nebraska lost 187 yards to sacks last season.
That's tough.
Auburn 179.
With a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, Peyton Thorne noted dual threat.
Yeah.
But offensively, Nebraska had more flashes of excellence last season. Specifically, we already mentioned earlier that Colorado game. There were plays in that game that were awesome.
Yeah.
It's another game from the 2024 season. Kind of went under the radar. If you haven't watched it, pull it up on YouTube. It is worth going back to watch, specifically because Gus Johnson is not calling it. It's a night game. Um, yeah, this is probably a terrible idea for you to bring up, considering how much I hate Gus. Which one of these games is he calling? Can we give him
Oh,
Northwesterns? Have him just go off about the hedges at Wrigley Field for a quarter and a half?
so if it's at a Big Ten stadium, it is gonna be a Fox game, so it would be him. I
Ugh,
mean, I feel like he only does Ohio State and Michigan games,
yeah, just
or
gross.
Ohio State or Michigan games, or when they play each other. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, him and Beth Mullins should have a joint booth together for Northwestern Mississippi State. I agree.
Um.
Shout out Gary Danielson, last
Yeah.
ride.
I will say this game for me entirely comes down to location, which
Yeah,
we don't know yet. So we're pulling that up. Auburn last season
no,
went.
it has to be Nebraska, right? Sorry.
No, you're right. Auburn didn't make a bowl game. Also,
Yeah.
the order of Oklahoma and Auburn is mixed up, but I think this is more interesting. So we'll roll
Yes,
with
I would agree with that. Yeah.
it. But yeah, so this game being in Lincoln, uh, it's tough because if this game's in Auburn,
Mm-hmm.
especially later than October 15th, Nebraska has zero chance. They don't.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they could be the significantly better team and still not have a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
But we just talked about it. It is in Lincoln. I think I'm switching my pick and saying Nebraska just because,
Mm-hmm.
man, I don't trust anything about Auburn.
No, not at all. I agree with you 100% there. Lincoln is a difficult place to play unless you're Georgia Southern, of course.
Yeah,
And they had Scott Frost at that point, but
noted haters
points
of
don't remain.
corn.
Yeah.
Um, so we're 2-2. That's rough as a Georgia and specifically SEC show.
Mm.
Um, we're not being very homer right now.
No, but this next one, we're coming back.
We are coming back because we're talking about Vanderbilt versus Michigan State. Um, so honestly, I'm personally surprised Michigan State won this many games last year.
Did they win a bowl game or go to a bowl game?
We are pulling it up.
I think this one's gonna be in Nashville.
This is another one where we kind of got screwed around a little bit, but it is Vanderbilt winning this one. Michigan State went 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'll be honest, the last three teams we talked about, I still don't know if they're hanging with Vanderbilt. Shocking to say out loud and talking about football, but
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the easiest game we've had to pick.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt
Yeah.
Vanderbilt football. We'll go baseball too. Have
Mm.
more swag than Kirk Cousins' alma mater has ever had in the side of the football program combined.
Indeed. Indeed.
Vandy's offense is approximately 40 years ahead of most of the Big Ten. And from what I saw last season, uh, including, the 45 minutes of Michigan State football I watched through 13 weeks, Diego Pavia is going to be having a Euro for a snack late in the third quarter, um, just to be eating some Greeks. You know what I mean? It's going to be munching on some oikos.
Yeah. Is he Greek?
No, but Michigan State Spartans. So I went with Euros and
Okay, I
Greek
was
yogurt.
like Diego Pavia doesn't strike me as a Greek guy, but okay.
No, no, no. He's just, you know, he's eating up on some Greek shit because they ain't got a chance.
Okay,
He's doing what Kenny McIntosh did again in the TCU game. Like he's going over to the stands and ordering some food.
there we go.
Um, I have one note about this next game. We're talking Arkansas versus Washington, the UW Huskies. And my one note about this team or about this game is this game entirely depends on where it's played. For a simple fact of in 2024, Washington went 6-6. The six games they won were all their home games. 6 games they lost were all their away games. They have 100% split. So, judging on that, games in Fayetteville, Arkansas wins.
Hmm.
But when you win 100% of your home games and lose 100% of your road games, it's games on the road, you're losing the game.
Facts.
You know, I truly believe Jed Fish just can't wake up on the road because he's used to Seattle's coffee.
Where can you get Seattle coffee outside of Seattle?
What's that gas station that always says they have Seattle's coffee? Seattle's best.
Starbucks.
Nope. There's a gas
Oh,
station
there.
that on the cups there it says Seattle's best. I don't know.
It could be coffee. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Probably not. We're actually just gonna forget we said this entirely. Um, Next game, I think this is kind of where it starts to get interesting between this and a lot of the ones that we're gonna talk about the next time we bring this up because we're splitting it 8-8. Um, but this game, Florida versus USC,
Wait, did we say? Wait, where did we say with the last one where it was actually being played?
Fayetteville.
Fayetteville. Okay, so Arkansas win. Okay, so what? We're 4-2 right now.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So Florida finished the season 8-5, and
I don't think the USC made a bowl, did they? Or they did it
7-6.
really? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, can't forget that
So
LSU man.
yeah.
Yeah, they played New
So
Vegas. Eh,
yes, that was
yeah,
in that
it
yeah
was an
that
A&M
was in
game.
Vegas.
They played A&M.
Yes.
Sorry.
Um. So we do have Florida versus USC in Gainesville
Ooh,
late in the year. Little chilly, not too bad, but it's going to be humid cold. If you're from the South, you know humid cold is a lot different than a dry cold.
good
So
science.
with DJ Lagway being healthy, the Gators are rolling in this one. With him and the rest of the offense, that Florida team is scary.
Hmm.
Florida offense. And, for how much we're all talking about Florida being dangerous next year, the 2024 defense kind of sucked. 83rd in passing yards allowed, 66th in rushing defense. But good news for them, USC doesn't play defense. And outside of the first few weeks, once they figured out the quarterback situation, they finally figured out the offense. But later in the season, they also were only scoring 20 to 30 points a game. And I don't think that is going to travel to a humid, chilly Gainesville in December with a healthy DJ Lagway and the receivers that got hurt and Montrell Johnson being healthy. I do think that this game would be all gas and no brakes. I think it would be offense, 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 offense. Very little defense involved. Um,
Would USC be going with the kid that committed to Georgia and then went to USC? No, no, never mind. Malvia, is that who it is? Matavia, what his name is? Because it's not
yes, Maava.
Maeva, yeah,
Yeah.
not
Once
not Miller
they
Moss.
once they benched Miller Moss, they were an entirely different team on offense. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think this would be a game everyone would go back to watch. as
Yeah.
long as Lincoln Riley doesn't weasel his way out of this SEC game like he normally tries to. But I don't want to put faith in either coach.
No.
That's extremely difficult for me. But Billy with DJ Lagway this past year was just different.
It definitely was. I mean, you have to ignoring just Billy in this situation. If you're just going strictly off of quarterback play, you have to go with Lagway, in Florida here. Got to.
Yeah. All right. So that is
5-2.
5-2. Um, Last game. This one's
Ew.
yeah. You know, so it is fitting that this is the midpoint of all the games we're talking about, and both of these teams are just mid. Definition of mid. And I don't
Hmm.
mean like so. For example, Florida last year with DJ Lagway, their offense was dangerous, right?
Hmm.
Vanderbilt, dangerous offense. Arkansas, you play them wrong, dangerous offense with
Yep.
Taylor Green.
They
Just
beat Tennessee.
yeah, just going back through the list, Oklahoma, phenomenal defense.
Hmm.
Kentucky, I think they were 42nd in defense last year, really good. So going back to the SEC's second from last team, everybody did something good and just sucked everywhere else, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Both of these teams are just okay everywhere,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. Um, Rutgers did just have a big lack of physicality on defense last year, being bottom 100 in total defense. But are we really trusting this A&M team to be good enough to beat a Core 4 program without something fluky happening? Like this game is going to be in College Station.
Oh. Hmm. That makes it a
But
little bit more interesting.
but I mean Marcel Reed didn't play well against any team not named LSU last year. And for being entirely honest, I think me or you could have passed for buck 50 on LSU last year.
That's fair. Hmm.
So does that impress me? No, not really. But I think College Station pushes it over the top, and that is the big decider there.
Yeah,
It,
I'd have to agree with that for sure.
if it was in something that sounds like a sneeze, New Jersey, where Rutgers is at, then
Piscataway.
yeah, that sounds like a sneeze, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it would be a toss-up. I really do. I think it'd be a 50-50 just based on my lack of trust in Marcel Reed. But College Station, 100 plus thousand people.
Hmm.
I think that pushes A&M over the top, but I'm not happy about that pick.
Now, does this take into account the A&M's mindset after they lost to Texas, where they have all this, their whole identity is just, talking crap about Texas and then losing? Are they able to recover and beat a very, very mid team, which I guess, like you said, they are A&M's mid as well. A&M was one win away from the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Wild.
Um that is interesting, but the way that I would look at it is all right. So depending on the timing of this game, if this is post first round of the playoff and you see what Ohio State did, knowing that they're going to play Texas
Hmm.
at some point if both teams keep winning, you want to go beat some Big Ten team with the same colors as bad as you can
Yeah.
to pretend that you're doing better than Texas.
And Rutgers has former Vol for Life Greg Schiano.
Yes, 100% Vol for life.
Hmm.
No one, especially painting on a rock, could change that.
No, can't take that away from him.
All right, so this is the first 8. We are doing the next 8 in an episode soon. We might be doing it Thursday, or we might Mike and I may be doing it back on Sunday. Um, we still have not heard about the Connect Savannah Best of Savannah, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say next year we need y'all to do better because it shouldn't have even been like tallying votes. They should have just been
Yeah.
like, you guys are so far ahead, we don't even need to let them finish.
Yeah.
Um, so that's on you guys. I'm gonna hold you accountable for it. But do follow our social medias at nothing not finder.pod on Instagram, at finderpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Look us up. You will find us there. Rate and review, show 5 stars. And as always, guys, remember there is nothing finer in the land.
Been a drunk obnoxious Georgia fan.